Welcome to Redcat Racing's Pit Stop how-to video series. I'm Matt LeMay, and in this full-length series, we'll discuss the basics of owning and operating Nitro-powered RC vehicles. See, we at Redcat Racing believe understanding your RC vehicle will help you enjoy it. To help you navigate, we've divided the Nitro series into smaller segments. Now, I recommend watching the Redcat Racing Pit Stop Nitro how-to video series completely through at least once, and using these navigation buttons to quickly reference specific segments. We are currently working on more Redcat Racing Pit Stop how-to video series, including the basics of electric-powered RC vehicles, gas vehicles, and will later include more advanced videos for tuning, driving, painting, detailing, and modifying. So if you haven't subscribed to the Redcat Racing YouTube channel yet, do it now to join in on the fun and receive notifications of new how-to videos. Welcome to the vehicle preparation segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop how-to video series. I'm Matt LeMay, and in this segment, we'll discuss important steps that must be completed before running your new Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle. We'll pre-use prep check the vehicle, adding thread lock to ensure mount points are secured, oiling the air filter, installing new AA batteries, and performing a radio range check. So grab your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle and let's get started. Practice to check screws and parts for tightness on any new RC vehicle. Any screw nested into metal should be removed and have blue medium thread lock applied to the threads. Now, the most important screws to be thread locked are those screwed into the engine mounts. Vibration from Nitro engines quickly loosens these screws, which results in stripped gears. Now, there's no need to apply thread lock to screws nested into plastic. If the screws won't tighten from excess wear, use a little epoxy or shoe glue on the threads to ensure a tighter fit. Medium CA can also be used, though it may make plastic brittle. Make sure to check all rotating and pivoting parts for smooth operation. If there is any binding, inspect and adjust as needed. This should be remedied before vehicle use. You'll find a small plastic tube packaged with the instruction manual. Now take this plastic tube and thread the receiver antenna through it. This will help protect the antenna from damage. Your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle uses 4 AA batteries to power the receiver and servos. Find the box which houses these batteries and insert 4 new AA batteries into the holder. Be sure to line up proper positive and negative sides. Here's a tip. Always put the flat or negative side of the battery onto the spring. Tuck the battery holder back into the battery box and secure the cover. Now place 8 new AA batteries into the bottom of the transmitter following the same positive-negative guidelines. Slide the cover back into place and we'll perform a radio range check in just a moment. The air filter attached to the engine will need to have air filter oil applied to help keep out fine dust particles. Any form of dirt, dust, or debris can create serious problems if entered into the engine. Now, this next step is very important. Apply air filter oil to the air filter before starting the engine. Begin by removing the foam filter element. Then, using a plastic bag like this one, add several drops of oil and work it into the air filter like so. Make sure the filter is completely covered, adding more oil if necessary. When completed, remove any excess oil with a paper towel. You want to saturate the filter with enough oil to catch any dirt, but not so much as to restrict airflow. Do not use regular multi-purpose oil for this step. You must use filter pre-treat oil. This is a sticky oil designed to catch dust particles. A radio range test must be done before starting your new RC vehicle. Now, you've already installed new batteries in both the transmitter and the vehicle, so let's get started. Always turn the transmitter on first, and then the receiver. Ensuring the transmitter is on anytime the vehicle is turned on will help prevent runaways. Move the controls on the radio while the corresponding controls are moving on your Redcat Racing vehicle. Stand behind the vehicle and turn the steering wheel to the left. The wheel should turn to the left. Now turn to the right and the wheel should turn to the right. Pull the throttle trigger and pay attention to the throttle servo. The throttle valve on the carburetor should open. Now push the throttle trigger forward and the throttle should close. The brake should also be applied, preventing the vehicle from rolling away. Your Redcat Racing transmitter is equipped with servo reversing switches just in case the controls are reversed. For example, if the wheels turn right when you turned left, switch the steering servo reversing switch to correct the problem. There is also one for the throttle. If all checks out without any glitches, have someone stand with the vehicle as you walk away. Have a predetermined plan on what order you will move the controls. I like to steer left, count to 10, steer right, count to 10, pull the throttle, count to 10, and then push the brakes and count to 10. Make sure you're further from the vehicle than you plan to be while you're using it. To find additional information on the products used in this video, go to redcatracing.com. Well, this concludes the vehicle preparation segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop How-To video series. You are now ready to move on to the Breaking in Your Nitro Engine segment of the Pit Stop How-To video series brought to you by Redcat Racing. I'm Matt LeMay, reminding you to have fun and don't forget your Redcat. Welcome to the Nitro Engine Pull Starter Usage and Replacement segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop How-To video series. I'm Matt LeMay, and in this segment, we'll discuss how to properly use your pull starter on your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle. I'll also show you how to replace the stock pull starter with the optional eStart electric starter system from Redcat Racing. Pull starters are a convenient way to start Nitro-powered RC vehicles, but if not used properly, can quickly end a day of bashing. Now, I know most of you have pulled the starter cord on a lawnmower or gas trimmer, got into a firm stance, and gave the cord a good yank. Well, that is exactly what we don't want to do when starting our Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle. See, pull start systems on Nitro RC vehicles are user-friendly and require much less elbow grease than their larger yard equipment counterparts. A Nitro engine pull starter has a throw of approximately 10 inches. Now, pulling beyond this point can damage the internal spring or pull cord itself. If this happens, you'll need to replace the pull starter. An easy way to ensure you don't overpull the starter cord is pull toward your chest. Overpulling will result in punching yourself, which may be slightly awkward, but you'll adjust to the motion and help keep you from breaking your pull starter. Call it the pull starter failsafe. Let's review. Quick short pulls of 10 inches or less and pull toward your chest. Following these guidelines will help ensure a long-lasting pull starter. If you've driven Nitro vehicles very long, you know the pull starter can be a little tiring with lots of use. This is more noticeable among beginners, well, because an improperly tuned engine is more difficult to start. Redcat Racing offers a way to keep every bit of enjoyment in the hobby with the optional Redcat Racing eStart electric starter system. This kit includes everything needed to easily turn over your Nitro engine. Inside the box, you'll find 2 backing plates with drive gears, the start shaft, handheld electric starter, 6-cell starter battery, battery charger, and instruction sheet. This electric starter kit is compatible with 16, 18, 21, and .28 Redcat Racing Nitro engines. To buy one of these eStart systems, go to www.redcatracing.com and type starter in the search box. I've laid my Redcat Racing pit mat onto my work area, and I've also put down a few parts mats to help organize small parts and screws while I'm working. There's nothing worse than spending an hour looking for misplaced screws, and these are going to keep me from having to do that. To install the Redcat Racing eStart electric starter system, you must first remove the engine. Start by removing the fuel lines from the tuned pipe and the carburetor. Now remove the small set screw at the end of the tuned pipe. You can now remove the 4 motor mount screws on the underside of the chassis to remove the engine. There are 4 Phillips head screws securing the pull starter. Remove these screws and the pull start mechanism, being careful to cover and keep the tightly wound spring from launching the spool across the work area. Now wrap a small zip tie around the pull start mechanism to keep it together. Be sure the one-way bearing remains on the crankshaft. Add a small amount of grease to the gears inside the new starting plate and install the plate aligning the drive gear for easy access with the starter shaft. Add a small amount of blue medium strength thread lock to the 4 screws included with the electric starter system and tighten it all down. Check operation of the Redcat eStart electric starter system by first loosening the glow plug. Now, if you don't have a T-wrench like this one, you can get the optional Redcat Racing Nitro starter kit, which includes tools you will most definitely use on an ongoing basis, like these T-wrenches, screwdrivers, fuel bottle, rechargeable glow igniter, and glow igniter charger. Go to www.redcatracing.com for more details. Now, removing the glow plug reduces compression and puts less strain on the starter just in case something was not aligned properly. Make sure the engine is spinning freely with no binding. If all is good, retighten the glow plug and install the engine back into the vehicle. Make sure the gear mesh is set properly. A helpful tip is to use a piece of paper between the gears while rotating them to help achieve the correct gap. Make sure the clutch belt and spur gears have a small amount of play between them. You want just enough play to relieve any pressure or binding between gears. If the gears are too tight, this can cause excess strain on the motor and also wear out the clutch bearing prematurely. If the gears are too loose, well, it can wear out the teeth, resulting in stripped gears. Be sure to add a small drop of blue medium strength thread lock to the engine mount screws to ensure they remain tight. Well, this concludes the Nitro engine pull starter usage and replacement segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop how-to video series. Now, don't forget to check out our other Pit Stop how-to videos brought to you by Redcat Racing. And for more information on the products used in this video, go to redcatracing.com. I'm Matt LeMay, reminding you to have fun and don't forget your Redcat. Welcome to the Nitro engine break-in segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop how-to video series. I'm Matt LeMay, and in this segment, we'll cover proper break-in procedures for your Redcat Nitro vehicle. Before we get started, there are a couple things that you'll need, like the Redcat Racing Nitro Starter Kit. Look for videos on the Nitro Starter Kit for more information. You'll need nitro fuel. I'm using PowerMaster car fuel with 20% nitro and 9% oil. Make sure you use the fuel for nitro-powered cars and trucks, not airplanes. Unleaded gas won't work either. You'll need a box or a stand to set your vehicle on, and plenty of patience. At this point, you've already oiled your air filter, you've checked all screws applying thread lock where needed, charged your glow igniter, and installed new AA batteries in both the car and the transmitter. You've range checked your radio system and charged the electric starter battery if you're using Redcat Racing's optional electric starter. If you've completed all of this, you're ready to break in your Nitro engine. All right, we're outside. We're ready to break in our Nitro engine on our Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle. Now, I've set the engine on the display stand sold at redcatracing.com. Now, this stand works great for breaking in your engines as well as displaying your vehicle when not in use. If you do not have a stand, you can use a box just as long as you keep the wheels off the ground. Now, I've already filled the fuel tank with nitro fuel using the filler bottle that's included with the optional Redcat Racing starter kit. I've got the transmitter and the receiver turned on, and we're ready to prime our engine. Now, using the optional electric starter we installed in a separate video, I'm going to insert it. I'm going to plug the X port on the tuned pipe, and we're going to turn over the engine a few times. Now, you'll see the fuel enter up through the fuel line into the carburetor. Once it reaches the carburetor, you know you're primed. Now we're going to take our fully charged glow igniter, place it on the glow plug, and start the engine. Now, if it takes a few times to start the engine, don't worry, because it's a brand new engine. It's never had fuel run through it before. Just keep at it until you get it started. Now, you want to let this engine run through a full tank of gas. If the engine is idling too fast, you may need to richen the low-speed needle, counterclockwise 1/8 of a turn. After each stage of break-in, you'll want to set your motor to bottom dead center. Now, what that means is the piston is at the very bottom of its stroke. Now, there are two ways you can do this. A, you can remove the glow plug, look inside, and turn the flywheel until you get to bottom dead center. Or an easier way is, underneath the buggy, there's a slot, and you can see the flywheel here. Turn it, kind of rotate it back and forth till it starts to get tight. Center point between both tightenings on each direction is going to be bottom dead center. So now that we have bottom dead center, let your engine cool 15 minutes in between break-in periods. All right, well, we've completed the first stage in breaking in our Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle. We've run it through 1 tank of gas while keeping it at idle. Well, now it's time to take it off of the stand, refill the tank, and run some figure eights. While doing figure eights, you want to keep the buggy moving without going over half throttle. Time to set your engine to bottom dead center again and let it cool for 15 minutes. Well, now it's time to repeat the previous step. Go ahead and do some more figure eights, keeping throttle under half. Once you've allowed your Redcat Racing vehicle to cool for 15 minutes, fill the fuel tank and follow the same procedures as steps 2 and 3, but this time you can bring the throttle to 3/4 position. Now, don't go over 3/4 throttle, and be gentle. Smooth throttle inputs are key. Now, once you've gone through another tank of fuel, set the motor to bottom dead center and let it cool for another 15 minutes. This is the final break-in step. Fill the tank with fuel while running the buggy in a straight line. Accelerate to full throttle from idle. Now turn around and do it again. Repeat this step until you've run through a full tank of fuel. Now, while accelerating, use smooth throttle inputs. Try not to stab the throttle. Now, you'll be able to do this all you want when we're done with break-in. When you're done with this procedure, set the motor to bottom dead center again, let it cool for 15 minutes, and you'll be ready to tune it for optimum performance. When finishing up a day of fun with your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle, don't forget to add a few drops of after-run oil into the carburetor and turn the engine over a few times. This lubricates the cylinder and protects it from moisture otherwise attracted by the nitromethane fuel. This concludes our segment on breaking in nitro engines. You are now ready to move on to the tuning segment of Redcat Racing's Pit Stop How-To video series. I'm Matt LeMay, reminding you to have fun and don't forget your Redcat. Welcome to the Nitro Engine tuning segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop How-To video series. I'm Matt LeMay, and in this segment, I'll show you how to properly tune your Redcat Racing Nitro engine. As we discuss tuning, we'll be using both big block and small block engines to help you better understand how to tune your engine to maximum engine life while maintaining performance. All two-stroke nitro engines tune the same way. However, there may be differences in the carburetor design. Some vehicles are equipped with rotary carburetors and some with slide carburetors. But they all use the same 3 adjustment screws: a high-speed needle, low-speed needle, and idle screw. Before we discuss how the adjustment screws affect performance, there are a couple terms you'll need to know. We'll be talking about rich mixture and lean mixture. Now this refers to the fuel-to-air ratio in your nitro engine. A nitro engine requires both nitro fuel and oxygen to create the explosion inside the combustion chamber. Now this explosion is what forces the piston down, rotating the crankshaft, resulting in horsepower. Now a perfect mixture is needed to get the strongest explosion while still allowing the oils in the fuel to lubricate the engine. Compared to a perfect mixture, a rich mixture has a higher fuel-to-air ratio, and a lean mixture has a higher air-to-fuel ratio. So if the mixture is too rich, there's too much fuel. And if the mixture is too lean, there's not enough fuel. Because the oil is actually in the fuel, a lean mixture will not lubricate the engine. Let's discuss how the needles affect fuel flow. As fuel enters the engine, it first passes through the high-speed needle. This is all fuel at any speed. All fuel entering into the engine is governed by the high-speed needle. We can think of the high-speed needle as an overall needle. The low-speed needle, which is screwed into the throttle mechanism, further restricts fuel flow when the throttle is closed or partially open. That is why it's called the low-speed needle. You can see, looking into the carburetor, when the throttle is open greater than 1/2 throttle, the low-speed needle is pulled out of its seat, rendering it fully open and no longer restricting fuel flow. At this point, the only thing left to restrict fuel flow is the high-speed needle, as it governs all fuel at all speeds. Now that we have a basic understanding of how the adjustment needles work, we can begin tuning our engine. The first step in tuning your nitro engine is to set the high-speed needle, as this will also affect performance of your Redcat Racing vehicle at low speeds. Once the high-speed needle is set, then we'll move on to the low-speed needle, and lastly, the idle speed. To set the high-speed needle, run the vehicle for 3 to 7 minutes depending on the weather to get the engine up to optimal running temperature. Now, it's about 95 degrees outside today, so 3 minutes will probably be enough. What we're looking for with the high-speed needle is smooth, full throttle action. Don't worry about how the engine runs at low throttle, just full throttle. The optimal high-speed setting should run smooth, strong, and still leave a decent trail of smoke. If there is no smoke, there is no lubrication. This is bad. The engine needs lubrication to keep from cooking itself. Now, let's perform a basic sight and sound check. Is there plenty of smoke coming out of the exhaust? Listen to your engine. Is there a smooth, high-pitched whine or a low-pitched gurgle? Does it sound rough? These are all indicators of how the engine is tuned. For example, a richly tuned engine will tend to have a lower pitch and may sputter or gurgle. Thick smoke will also be visible. Now, a leanly tuned engine will tend to have a high-pitched sound with little to no smoke and may quit suddenly. If the engine is running rich with a lot of smoke and low-pitched sound, tighten the high-speed needle 1/8 of a turn and run it at full throttle for 30 seconds or so. Only turn the needles in 1/8" turn intervals, as this will keep you from over-tuning. Now, if it is still showing the same symptoms, turn the high-speed needle another 1/8 of a turn and rerun at full throttle. Continue this step until the engine is running smooth, strong, and sounds good. Once we've achieved the most power possible, loosen the high-speed needle 1/8 of a turn. This should give you the optimal setting. Now conduct a quick smoke check, and if there is plenty of smoke coming out of the exhaust, your Redcat Racing vehicle is ready to have low-speed needle adjusted. It's always best to run your engine a little rich. Sure, this isn't the extreme point of power, but it will continue to start and run every time you want to race or bash. And remember, running an engine too lean will drastically shorten its lifespan. Quick note, if the engine is running very lean to the point where there is no smoke, high-pitched whine, and stalls, loosen the high-speed needle 1/4 of a turn. I know I said only adjust 1/8 turn intervals, but in this instance, loosen it 1/4 of a turn because you can damage your motor if your run's too lean. It's always better to start off too rich than too lean. A lean engine will cook itself. Not only does the lean mixture burn hotter, the fuel also carries the oil through the engine for lubrication, so if there's no fuel, there's no lubrication. Perform another basic sight and sound check to see where the engine stands. If it is still too lean, loosen the high-speed needle. If it is too rich, tighten the high-speed needle 1/8 of a turn. Running your engine too lean is also a good way to burn out your glow plug. We'll discuss glow plugs in great detail in an upcoming segment of Redcat Racing Pitstop how-to video series. For now, if the engine won't tune or even start, check the glow plug and replace if not working properly. Here's how to check your glow plug. First, clean any dirt out of the cooling head. Then remove the glow plug. Using needle nose pliers, clip an igniter like this one included with the optional Redcat Racing Nitro starter kit onto the glow plug. The coils inside the plug should glow bright orange. You may need to use your hand for shade to better see the coils. If it glows bright, reinstall the plug. If not, install a new one. Once the high-speed needle is set, it's time to set the low-speed needle. This needle controls fuel mixture from idle to about half throttle. Before touching the needle, accelerate from idle while performing a basic sight and sound check. Was there plenty of smoke? Pay attention to how the engine sounds. Did it stutter or hesitate? Following the same guidelines as the high-speed needle, set the low-speed needle. If there was plenty of smoke and the engine stuttered some, it's running a little rich. Tighten the low-speed needle in 1/8 turn intervals until optimal acceleration is achieved. You should then loosen the low-speed needle 1/8 turn, and you now have the safe performance setting. Make sure there is plenty of smoke coming out of the exhaust through all stages of throttle. The vehicle will idle smoothly while sitting still. If your Redcat Racing vehicle wants to run away while idling, loosen the idle screw 1/8 turn until the vehicle idles sitting still. Having to apply brakes to keep from moving will wear out the clutch quickly. A burnt clutch can lead to serious problems, including clutch slip and stick. Sometimes the inside of the clutch bell will glaze over, making it difficult for the clutch to engage, which leads to an over-revved engine, resulting in failure. Additionally, clutch shoes can melt against the inside of the clutch bell, making it impossible to stop the vehicle without stalling the engine. A properly set idle screw will help to avoid these problems. good idea to check these settings every time you run your Nitro vehicle. A quick check for smoke and performance may be all that is needed. A Nitro engine will run differently in different weather, such as a hot, humid day compared to a cool, dry one. Well, this concludes the Tuning Your Nitro Engine segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop How-To video series. You can find more information about the vehicles used in this segment at www.redcatracing.com. And don't forget to watch the other Pit Stop How-To videos brought to you by Redcat Racing. I'm Matt LeMay, reminding you to have fun and don't forget your Redcat. Welcome to the basic driving tips segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop How-To video series. I'm Matt LeMay, and in this segment, I'll go over some basic driving tips, including the effects of adrenaline, perspective, throttle and brake control, driver focus, and tips to help you jump successfully. Once you fire up your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle, it's natural to get excited. Throw some onlookers expecting a show into the mix, and it's inevitable. Your adrenaline is going to be pumping. While this is exciting and thrilling, it's also the perfect scenario for the driver to make a mistake. We all want to impress our friends and spectators. I mean, that's a big part of the hobby. But it's important to be comfortable driving your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle before showing off for others. Once you're comfortable with the vehicle's behaviors, well, you're less likely to get nervous while displaying what incredible skills you have and the awesome piece of machinery your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle is. Now, being comfortable behind the wheel will also help you avoid oversteering and large throttle inputs usually caused by adrenaline-filled shaky hands. The most important driving tip is, don't get nervous. Small, smooth control inputs are what are needed to achieve driving greatness. Learning to be smooth and staying calm will greatly improve your driving skills. Vehicle orientation can take some getting used to. See, steering controls seem reversed when driving towards yourself. Try to imagine yourself sitting inside the vehicle at all times while keeping speeds at safe levels. Use a large open area to practice driving in large figure-8 patterns. Create a track using small cones or plastic cups. Once you've mastered the figure-8s in one direction, well, try going in the opposite direction. Getting used to this reverse orientation effect will happen quickly with practice. Becoming smooth on the brakes and throttle will help keep the vehicle controllable at all times. Let off the throttle while entering a turn, and gradually apply smooth throttle while exiting the turn. This transfers the weight to the appropriate tires for higher traction throughout the turn. Now, once you find that point where the vehicle wants to spin out, staying just below that point will help to produce fast, stable cornering. Now, it's a good idea to look slightly ahead of the vehicle, allowing your peripheral vision to track for upcoming obstacles. See, focusing on the vehicle will force quick decisions and defensive driving habits. Focusing slightly ahead of your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle allows more reaction time and develops good offensive driving habits. Scanning the terrain for obstacles and conducting a walk-around inspection before driving will allow you to select the best lines, drive faster, and handle your vehicle like a pro. If there's one thing most RC drivers want to do, it's jump. Jumping can be fun as well as costly if not done correctly. When first attempting to jump your Redcat Racing RC vehicle, start small, working your way up to larger jumps. And touching all 4 tires down at the same time is the best way to land. Redcat Racing RC vehicles are controllable in the air as well as on the ground. Now, we'll keep it simple by going over throttle inputs. We'll cover airborne steering in an upcoming Redcat Racing Pit Stop How-To video series, Advanced Driving Tips. Because of the tire's gyroscopic effect, applying throttle while in the air will raise the nose of the vehicle, and applying brake will lower the nose. Now, the larger the tires, the greater this gyroscopic effect. Generally, letting off the throttle at the base of the jump while allowing momentum to launch the vehicle will in most cases deliver a positive jumping experience. Now, while in the air, slight throttle or brake can be applied. Now, you'll need to think fast, so getting used to the vehicle before attempting to jump is a must. Remember, too much throttle could send the vehicle nose up, causing it to land on the rear bumper, and too much brake could send the vehicle into a cartwheel or worse, a nosedive. Now, you'll get used to the amount of control inputs needed, but remember to start small, always land on the tires, and low jumps are safer than high jumps. Jumping is fun, but aside from hitting something, it's the easiest way to break your RC vehicle, especially landing 10-foot jumps on one tire or upside down. Now, it's a good idea to stock up on some small spare parts like A-arms and steering knuckles before attempting monster jumps. Well, this concludes the basic driving tips segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop How-To video series. I'm Matt LeMay, reminding you to have fun and don't forget your Redcat. Welcome to the vehicle maintenance segment of the Redcat Racing's Pit Stop How-To video series. I'm Matt LeMay, and in this segment, we'll discuss the steps needed to maintain proper performance of your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle. First, we'll discuss routine maintenance and how to perform a light cleaning for dusty vehicles, as well as performing a deep cleaning for vehicles covered in heavy dirt. So grab your Redcat and let's get started. Screws on your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle should be checked after each run. If any are neglected and work their way out, it could start a chain reaction of problems. Apply blue medium strength thread lock to those screws nested into metal. It's good practice to check servos for proper operation after every couple runs. Hard landings can damage the gears inside. If you hear any clicking, replace the servo. Also inspect throttle and brake linkages for smooth operation. Conducting a rock and debris check is a good way to ensure a smoothly running drivetrain. Rocks can lodge themselves under center drive shafts as well as other hard to reach places. Once you've looked over the vehicle, make sure all moving parts can move freely. Be sure to run all the fuel out of your fuel tank. If you are unable to do this and are left with fuel at the end of the day, well, suck it back out with an easy-to-use fuel filler bottle like the one included with Redcat Racing's optional Nitro starter kit. Now, it's best to remove any remaining nitro fuel from inside the vehicle. The fuel used in nitro-powered engines contains nitromethane, which attracts moisture, and if left untreated, the inside of the nitro engine may rust and corrode. We recommend using after-run oil after each day of fun to prevent moisture buildup. Place a few drops into your carburetor and turn the engine over a few times to draw the lubricant into the engine. You can also put a few drops directly into the cylinder by removing the glow plug. Just remember to clean the inside of the head first. Dirt and grime have a tendency to collect around the glow plug. If allowed into the engine, it will act as sandpaper, scratching internal components. Now, a cotton swab works great for this job. As an added precaution, I like to hold the vehicle upside down while removing the glow plug. If there is any dirt left in the head, it will fall away from the glow plug hole, keeping the cylinder clean. While still holding the vehicle upside down, wipe around the empty glow plug hole with a cotton swab to ensure a good seat when the glow plug is installed. Small debris can create a bad seal between the glow washer and the head. Now, this could result in lost compression and bad performance. Now's a good time to check your air filter. Dust and dirt build up on the filter elements, which is a good thing. I mean, after all, this is your only line of defense against that nasty engine-killing grit. But if left unattended, a dirty air filter will cause the engine to run rich, resulting in lost performance. Clean the filter with liquid dish soap and water and let air dry. Once the filter is completely dry, you can re-oil it with air filter pre-treatment oil. Use a plastic bag to saturate the filter element and a paper towel to remove excess oil. You want enough oil to catch the dirt, but not so much as to hinder performance. Be sure to use sticky filter oil for this step. Checking fuel lines for cracks and damage is a good way to rule out unwanted air leaks. Air leaks in fuel lines will cause erratic running characteristics and makes an engine impossible to tune. Keep the shock shafts clean and check shocks for leaks. If the shock looks like it had just started leaking, try tightening the cap while wiping off any spilled oil. Keep an eye on the shock and see if it leaks anymore. If so, check the seals for damage and remove any dirt. If all seals are fine, refill the shock with oil and replace the cap. After normal use, your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle may need some light cleaning. While running on pavement and grass, dirt and debris can collect in various components of the vehicle. Now, one of the most helpful tools to remove light debris is an air compressor. Now, using an air chuck or an old airbrush like this one, blow off dust and light debris. If you don't have access to an air compressor, you can use canned air or a few different brushes to get your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle clean. An ordinary cleaning brush, like this one found in the cleaning aisle of many stores, works great on the chassis and other large surfaces. An old dish brush is also great for cleaning hard-to-reach areas. Now, for those small, difficult-to-reach areas, try an old toothbrush, cotton swab, and toothpicks. Go over the entire vehicle using these dry brushes, ensuring all moving parts move freely without binding. A small amount of rubbing alcohol, nitro cleaner, or simple green on a paper towel or cotton swab will help remove oil residue from the exhaust. Do not rinse off the vehicle, as there are many things that need to be addressed before using water or other liquid in cleaning your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle. Now, we'll discuss these next steps in the deep cleaning segment. If light cleaning won't get your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle clean, then a deep clean is in order. First, remove all electronics, engine, and fuel system. Now, keep in mind, the gearboxes and bearings will need to be addressed while deep cleaning. So be prepared to invest a few hours in this process. Now, it may seem like a long time, but it is well worth it in the end. Setting up a cleaning station only requires a plastic bin, some assorted brushes, simple green, and a garden hose. It should go without saying that this is best done outside. I like to start with the tires. Remove all 4 tires from the vehicle and spray with simple green. Use an ordinary cleaning brush to scrub the tires clean and rinse off the dirt. Squeeze out any amount of water that may have entered the tire. Now, this should be little, if any. The most important thing to remember when washing tires is not to submerge them. The air holes in the rims allow water to enter, saturating the foams, which causes lost performance. A mildew smell can also develop. If this happens, rinse out the stale water and drill small holes in the surface of the tire. Do not cut holes. You must drill or punch them. See, the tire may tear if the hole isn't round. Squeeze out any excess water and run the vehicle after mounting the tires. Centrifugal force will throw the water from the holes. Now, I don't recommend drilling tires unless absolutely necessary. The small holes in the tires could snag on rocks or other obstacles, tearing the tire. This method is mostly used on race-only vehicles, where the vehicle is only driven on groomed tracks. Now, simple green also works great for cleaning the chassis. Remove all electronics, engine, and fuel system from the chassis before you begin. Wet the cleaning brush and begin scrubbing the chassis. Use simple green to remove oily residue. The dish brush is great for removing dirt from shock towers and other large three-dimensional areas. The toothbrush works great under the drive shafts and around most tight areas. In some areas, the cotton swab and toothpick may be necessary. Spray the vehicle off and check for any forgotten areas. Respray with simple green and continue scrubbing until all is clean. Now, after the final rinse, dry the chassis with a towel or compressed air. Soak all metal hardware on the chassis with WD-40 to displace water and prevent rusting. Be careful not to get any WD-40 on the brake assembly or clutch. Now, although WD-40 is not a great long-term lubricant, it does contain silicone oil, which will cause slippage, resulting in poor performance and eventually complete clutch and brake failure. Allowing the clutch to slip could also result in engine damage. As spoken of earlier, ball bearings will need to be cleaned and re-oiled. Start by removing the bearing and spraying it with WD-40. Spinning the bearing while spraying will help flush out any dirt and water. WD-40 was designed to be a water displacer, hence the name WD, Water Displacement 40. Now, while it works good for loosening debris and displacing water, it doesn't do an adequate job of protecting bearings. For this, you'll need a high-speed bearing oil, like the one made by Lucas Oil. Soak one side of the bearing and spin the race to work the oil in. You can feel the bearings smooth out when the oil has penetrated the outer race. Repeat the step for all bearings. While deep cleaning, water most likely worked its way into the gearboxes and will need to be removed. Disassemble each gearbox and remove old grease. Dry the inside of the box along with the gears and re-grease. Now is a good time to change the oil or grease in the differentials, although it may not be necessary. Now, I removed the oil from all three diffs and replaced it with 10,000 weight silicone oil in the front, 7,000 silicone oil in the center diff, and 3,000 weight oil in the rear diff. Now, after cleaning the body with soap and a cloth, reassemble your Redcat Racing Nitro vehicle as it is now ready for another day of fun. Well, this concludes our maintenance segment of the Redcat Racing Pit Stop How-To video series. Check out our other Pit Stop How-To videos brought to you by Redcat Racing. I'm Matt LeMay, reminding you to have fun and don't forget your Redcat.